Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids podcast. Before we get started, make sure you check out homeschoolyourkidsexpo.com. Check out our traveling schedule for the 2026 year. And as well as the many resources that are available and download the app. I never say that, but download the Homeschool Your Kids app. Um, and a quick shout out to a couple of our sponsors that are mission to ensure that you do not do homeschooling alone. So special shout out to Classical Conversations, who is definitely mission driven to ensure that you have not only curriculum, but community support. And Base Camp, a brand new app that recently launched this year. That is free to download and it is just like a community resource. It shows you the different resources that are available in your local area, as well as different families that are in your local area. And you can compare and contrast, like see that, they got kids your age and things like that. So it's a pretty cool app. So check them out also. And today we have with us Christopher. Christopher, introduce yourself.
Hi, it's nice to see you today, Jay. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Cool.
My name's Chris Reeves, and I have a little bit of an interesting history. I wrote a few books, one that's called The Parent Teacher Love and Leading and Learning, and the other called Every Child Has a Story, Engaging in Your Child's Learning and Development, with the whole idea that education is relational and it's based on the relationship really between a parent and child. And that's the foundation relationship. And I was reading in one of your blogs how you mentioned that a lot of parents get kind of bluffed out of their role because there's so many experts. Teaching is a profession that requires a degree. Child psychology requires a degree, all of these things, but the parent really knowing their child is so basic and foundational and has the greatest impact for their child. So my story, I grew up in a traditional family, nice family, and but my parents had no context in terms of what it means to engage in your child's learning. And so I went to public school. I went to some church things and what have you, but there was not really the engagement by my parents in my learning other than watching a report card or things like that. And so as I grew up, I didn't really value learning. And I remember in high school and even in college, I didn't try that much, but I did, I was able to do okay, but it didn't have the value to me because I didn't perceive it to have value to my parents. It may have, but their actions didn't show that, in other words. And so even with my own kids, being a good Christian parent and very devoted to them and so forth, I didn't know what it meant to really engage in their learning. And so you trust the schools, you trust the church, you trust all of these entities to do the job. And, you parent, you teach in your way by example and so forth. But in terms of really making education really be something tremendous in their lives, something's missing when there isn't that parental engagement on a level that really walks alongside the child, is interested in what they're studying, and all those things that engagement does. And so looking back on that and doing research into the biblical history of teaching and learning, how parents in the image of God teach, because God teaches us and raises us and nurtures us, and that's what parents do. It's our kind of like a natural role, but that role's been kind of lost through history. And you can look at the history of education in the West and the United States and see where that disconnect begins to happen from generation after generation until we're not passing on the knowledge, almost the intuitive knowledge of teaching your children. And anyway, and that's what I love about the homeschool movement and a lot of educational research in the last bit is that it really shows what parental engagement does and how it can be greater than even having the best professionals teach your kids. Um,
Yes.
So, and that's what I love about your mission and website is you're telling parents you can do this. And that's why I like the name also, Homeschool Yo Kids, because it's taking it out of this, um, I don't know, professional,
Yes.
complex thing to right down to earth where you live with your children in the home. And of course, there's a lot of wonderful tools that parents can use today also to help with that. So anyway, I engaged for a while with a gentleman that ran a private school, private Christian school, worked with children in special needs, did mission work in different countries, helping kids with trauma and helping educators how to work with them. Another woman that works with teaching, teachers how to create trauma-informed classrooms, and another woman who started what is it called, a co-op in the for teaching and learning center. And anyway, but in working with them to kind of create a framework for teaching and learning, what does it look like? Um, I just began to see there's so much that I didn't know that I wish I knew as a parent that parents need to know today. And so, anyway, I wrote these books almost like, if I were you, here's what I would want to know. and and it's very simple concepts, but tied to educational, psychological, brain study research that is so profound, but it's all tied to very simple actions of a parent with their child and engaging with them. And so I wanted to show this very simple thing you can do of engaging your child, what that does. And if you know that, how you can be intentional in certain things you might do, knowing what the result will be. So anyway, that's kind of my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, I like that, Christopher. I like that a lot. You said a mouthful, but mainly like about the parent engagement being so important. I think like that relationship, I don't know, I don't know if it's when the kids get older, it's like, we kind of disconnect, or society say that we should disconnect because teenagers have
Hmm.
this, they're moody and they're like this and this. And so it's like, oh, I just let them be in their own world. But it's like that teenager still needs you. That young adult still needs you. I know I used to have a lot of kids, my students tell me that I talk to them more than their parents, and that always
Hmm.
bothered me, like because we didn't even have that much time together. So it's like, oh my gosh. So that's why it's been like a great mission for me to say, talk to your kids, talk to your
Yeah.
kids. Like if you don't do anything else, talk to your kids. Because you are teaching them and showing them how much you care in general. Because we know the care is there. You're going to work, you're working your bones off.
Yeah.
Like, we know that the care is there. It's not that we're taking away from that. It's just that they need more in relationship to just being a provider.
Yeah. And relationships are messy, as we know. And so we can't avoid the messiness of that
Yes.
and the reactions and all these things. Because, even like you say, teenagers that seem to react when parents talk with them, inside they appreciate it.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
I have a friend who's a counselor in a public school, and she was telling me that this was probably like preteen students, um, but a number of them they didn't know what their parents thought about them,
Um,
and it's because it's not voiced, it's not expressed, and it's just like what you're saying when you do all these things and you kind of take for granted the relationship. It's like the child doesn't know, and some of the children, it's like they didn't think their parents knew what they were interested in or things like that. And so anyway, yeah, that uh, I think it's a matter of awareness, because like you say, we all love our children and we do all these things, provide for them and everything, but to really understand what it means to engage in that relationship with them, I think is I think we can all learn and practice. and then see the results of it.
Indeed, indeed. I feel, um, I don't know. I don't know if like we get caught up, like, as because we're trying to keep our head above water and be the provider that our children need. Because if nothing else, we do understand fundamentally that a child needs shelter, food, clothes,
Hmm.
things of that nature. So it's like, I gotta work, I gotta work. And some parents are working two, three jobs to make that, the means to do that. But in essence, they're losing their child like that.
Yeah.
Because that is a thing. It's like, do you know what your child is into? Do you know what their favorites are? Do you know what, besides what you know when they were younger? Because like I said, I feel like it fades. Like it's once they get
Hmm.
into that school age and we send them into the public school system, it's like, like, from 8 to 3, they're here, and we get a little time. They may go to an after school program because I don't get off until 5:30,
Yeah.
and then I get them home about 3 hours. I feed them, and they bathe, and we go on about our way, and we do that Monday through Friday, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. And what's hard about that is that I think in the public school system, even in good ones, you have a lot that kids encounter, and
Yes.
it can be either stressful or to the level of traumatic for them.
Right.
And when they experience that, they, become withdrawn or sullen. There's responses, reactions that they have, and parents may take that personally, or try to just make them, change their attitude or what have you, and not really understand and listen and talk, and to where the child feels like, oh, somebody heard me. I'm known. I'm really seen. And again, that's the problem with, uh, grooming for sex trafficking and all this stuff is they take a child who feels disconnected and not seen and known, and then they become their friend. They make them feel like they're seen, they're known, they're valued, and and really that's the space of the parent.
Yes, yes,
And
you're
so,
absolutely correct.
yeah. So anyway, this whole thing of engagement from birth through teenage years in education and development is really it's they thrive educationally in learning because they're thriving emotionally and they're thriving in relationship. And like you're saying, kind of the pyramid, it's food, safety, shelter. But right with that, some people say it's even below that or on top of it is love and belonging. And then you don't actually grow in knowledge and skills and becoming until those two areas are met.
I'm not,
And so
yes.
that's what you're talking about. This is an engagement all the way through and not letting it drop even when, the kids start to want to become their own person.
I know it's you have to accept it. I know I have an 8 and 11-year-old, two little ladies, I call them. I always call them my little people, like, because they're like essentially, when you call kids kids, like kind of diminishing their them as a person. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
just kids, get these kids out the way. It's like, but no, they're little people because they're gonna grow up to be big people, and
Yeah.
it's takes a lot of work with self as a parent to recognize and to break those, those generational patterns that we come across where we're like, oh, well, my mom did this or my dad did this, and so I'm gonna keep doing it because I mean, I turned out fine. They're always like, I turned no,
Yeah.
did you? Because I could have sworn you
Yeah.
say you're in therapy and some more stuff. So, like, did you turn out fine, or is it something you just normalized because society has normalized it and you just keep on moving? It's a lot. It's a lot to process and to be intentional and conscious about when parenting, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that we can just easily get into the cycle of, well, this is how I was raised, or this is what my parents say is right, or especially when you have your parents still, very active and involved. They're like, oh, you need to tell that child this, or you need to do this, or like, it's like, Mom, that didn't work for me. So I know it's not going to work for them. Um, but yeah, no, it's a lot. Parenting is no easy task, and I love that you have created manuals, in a sense, because we don't get sent home with manuals. I talk about it all the time. Like we get
Yeah.
these little babies and it's like, here are a couple diapers and some formula. Go on about your way. Like figure it out. And it's like, but I need more. Like what else? Like once they start talking, what do I do? Like it's a lot.
That's true. Well, I think there are principles. It's not like a how-to,
Yeah.
because as you know, every family is different.
Different. Yeah.
Just in the dynamics of the family itself, socially where you come from, where you live, just everything is different um,
Agreed.
about each family. But there are principles that apply to all families. And I think that's, what I was trying to write to, are what are those principles that any parent could use, whether you homeschool your child, fortunate to be in a private school, good one, or they're in public school, or, you have a co-op going, whatever it might be. There are principles that we engage in. Because think of this illustration. Again, on a church level, a lot of parents, they take their kids to church, they're in children's programs, all of this, but at home, they don't really engage in that. So by the time the child is a certain age or a teenager, at some point, they begin to not value what they learned because they never engaged with their parent, giving them that sense that my parents value this. It's part of
Mm,
their, value system. And so it's part of mine also. So in a sense, they're imitating what they see, but they don't, but the parent may really want that for them, but they didn't engage in the relational activities to make that important for the child. And so,
yes.
so the same with education, things that are learned. And so anyway, I think that's a great illustration to where, like you're saying, just doing what we, have been, in a sense, raised to do, or, learned by example, may not really be what's necessary. And especially when there's so many more inputs to kids today,
Hmm.
that, that parental, relationship that evolves with the child and is engaged with them is so crucial.
Very, very much so. And I think you, like when you started in your introduction, you talked about your parents' involvement in your education, and it's more of a like a progress check of making
Yeah.
sure that you're doing what you need to be doing, checking, checking off the boxes. So it
Hmm.
was like, okay, well, they're not really interested in this education, so why should I be in a sense? I think that said a lot because that is a thing. Like you send these kids to school and you just check on, like you said, their progress as far as report cards. And that's what every 9 weeks, you get a progress report every four and
Hmm.
a half weeks. And those are the check-ins. Other than that, it's just oh well, how was school today? And you say, oh, it's fine or it's good.
Yeah.
And then, everybody carries on. So it's like, okay, well, do you really care? Do you want to know about the curriculum? Do you want to know about the books that I'm reading? Do you want to know about what my teacher said today was kind of a little outlandish? Do you want to know, what my friends I always ask? Look, I spent like 3 months at like two and a half, but it's like 3 months at my little sister's house early this year in Florida. And my niece and my nephew who are 18 and 13,
Hmm.
um, they still go to public school and everything. And so every day I was helping my sister, pick them up and drop them off and stuff because they're like they get dropped off and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I'm picking them up and dropping them off, and I'm always asking. I'm asking like, were there any fights today? Like, what did y'all do? What did you learn? Like, and my niece, fresh teenager, she's like, she always would be looking at me like, girl, stop asking all these questions. But I'm just like, I want to know, like, what else did you do? What was your favorite part of the day? Because it's like you have to keep expanding on the questions because they really will summarize a whole 7 hour day as good or fine if you
Yeah.
let them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if you let them, they will. So it's just like just talk to him. Just keep talking to him. And so then it became like my nephew got so used to it that he started coming home and like just sharing, like telling, like because he had an English teacher that would pick on him and stuff. And I'm like, what did your teacher say today? And all this stuff. And then we'd be theorizing why he has beef with him. Like, why do you think that he bought like you bother him so much? Like we're just talking, but it's just like I, being seen and being heard and being
Yeah.
valued in a sense that my day matters, like beyond a grade. I think that
Yeah.
goes a long way.
It goes a long way. And along with that, we all understand the stories of, a child that's having a rough time. Maybe there's trauma in their life, but there's a teacher that sees past the behaviors, that values the child, that where the child begins to think like, oh, I'm not my behaviors.
Mm.
Um, this person sees who I am and likes me, and and they begin to think like, oh, I'm more than this. And anyway, but where a teacher can open the door for a child, and but how much more profound when a parent does that,
Yeah.
and it
Yes.
in this atmosphere of the home that they live in. And that's kind of like what you were talking about, what you were doing, where a parent or an adult that's family really takes an interest and sees them and goes beyond the initial
Yes.
responses and actions to get to the heart where they begin to share.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, definitely so powerful. And all of those things that we're talking about um, give the person the emotional space to breathe, the child, and to where they're not like looking for that now because they got it.
Yes.
And now
Yes.
they can focus on what they're reading, what they're learning. They can focus on what they're interested in. They can focus on a problem to solve. But it frees up, and that's even what all the brain science people tell you, is it frees up the brain to actually process new information and make connections and begin to make meaning and develop understandings, and of course transfer that to be able to do things that they're interested in with that information. And so but without those kind of foundational points, that learning begins to get stuck at some point.
Indeed, indeed it does. I think the parent and like parent teacher connection could be so much stronger. I know parent involvement was an issue when I was in the classroom, and that's fuel to the foundation that I've started as far as homeschool your kids, because it's
Yeah.
like I feel like regardless of where your kids are in school setting, whether it's private, public, charter, homeschool, whatever atmosphere your child is in, I still feel homeschool is an essential part, because essentially that's where they're going to learn to value education, as you said. That's where they're going
Mm-hmm.
to learn to feel valued. That's where they're going to be seen the most, because your love should be what's leading everything. Because we essentially, like, you think about a human being and what it is that we seek all our life, and it's like love is to be seen, to
Yeah.
feel of like you have a purpose, like those are,
Mm-hmm.
those are key things. And so it's like as a child you're trying to figure that, because my 11-year-old already goes into, I'm just trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do, and like, and I'm just like, girl, it will come, believe me, okay.
Yeah.
It took a good little while for me to start walking fully in my light, but I knew initially early on, but not that early. Like, come on, like just keep on enjoying, keep on figuring out, keep on asking questions, because she is a question asker, honey.
Oh, that's
It's
wonderful.
like, what? Yes. So it's just like, okay, those things have to be fulfilled, and they have to be fulfilled in a way that the child really feels like they're in a community that cares. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that parent and teacher, like that bridge has to be there, because it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I have this adult in this building telling me this, and then I have this adult at home. Like they're, kind of telling me a few things, but it's not the same. Like, it's like kind of different. And so it's important to be on the same track. And that
Yeah.
takes you being present in your child's educational journey.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's Yeah, the different levels of engagement. There's the engagement with the school for those who are in school, like you're saying, that, talking with the teacher, talking with the different ones that have an input to the child and being on the same page
Yeah.
as much as possible and understanding what they're learning, where the issues are, and be able to talk about it in the home so that it becomes an extension of one another as much as
Yes.
possible. But even, greater in cases, where the parent is the teacher in homeschool. But even there, it's like you don't just trust the curriculum. Now I've got good curriculum, sit them down in front of the curriculum to work through it, check on them. But again, it's even the engagement there to, what is the curriculum goals? What are you coming out with at the end, and do things with the child to where that's an exciting thing for them, an adventure to where, hey, at the end of this, you're going to do this. Let's do this fun thing, and create almost a context for the learning that they're into. But again, the parent has a way of doing that because you know your child. You can talk with them, see what they're interested in, and uh, and be able to lead them even through, a homeschool curriculum that you purchase or have a subscription to or so forth. So again, that engagement can go as, you know as deep as possible, but and it's not that complicated to do. It just takes, practice and, and the effort to do it. And you brought up a huge thing of, parents who have to work a lot just to make a living. But even then, just the simple things, intentional, simple things of love and affection and asking about how things are going and encouragement. I mean, just, whatever level, it has a huge impact.
Indeed, indeed. What led you besides, your own personal walk and your own personal journey as far as your parent and the communication you had, and then you went on to be a parent. What led you to write the books that you wrote? Like what was it that clicked that was like, okay, this is what the world look, this is what the world needs. This is my music I need to get out real quick.
Well, I think it was a little bit of a journey. Had a master's in curriculum design.
Okay.
So, looking at learning theory, curriculum design, what works and all that. And I'd done a lot of, training and teaching and things. But when I really studied kind of like the biblical foundation of education from, just all the way through and what the different principles were, how it worked, just the stories, the examples, and realizing this is all through there. And God is a teacher. He's our father. He's our teacher. He's a mother to us. He nurtures us. I mean, so all of these things are part of our makeup and who we are and our life. And then looking at family, and it's like, oh, this is part of family, this intentional teaching. And it's like a no-brainer to say that. But again, because of example or past experience, we don't really understand what that looks like to be able to model that. And so, anyway, then working with these others and then basically taking those principles and looking up educational research on that and going, okay, here's what, attachment theory says, how that and what builds resilience and learning. And what does brain science say? Oh, love and belonging is the key to healthy, brain functioning. So all of these are basic principles um, uh, that, they're in the Bible. They're basic principles, but they're basic and foundational to how we live as human beings. And
Yeah.
so that led me to write these things because it's like there's more than meets the eye to this. It's a very simple idea, but the consistent, persistent, demonstrated love from an infant and how they're cared for through a toddler, through the different ages, even through teenage years. It looks different in each phase, obviously, but it's the same heart of nurture and care and teaching and opening a door for the child. And that was the other thing is that, every child has a story unique to them. and they're wired to learn. So it's like they should be learning and excited about learning all the way past graduating from school into their career and into whatever they're doing in life. And so how do you create an atmosphere in the home? You can't control everywhere they are, but how can you create an atmosphere in the home that nurtures that, internal born in them desire to learn? Because we're physically made that way, emotionally made that way, spiritually made that way. And so that child can have an atmosphere that sets them on a course that really doesn't have limits as to who and what they are. And of course, there's tools we can use and all this stuff and others that we can use. But the main engine for that makes all that effective is this relational journey with the parent and the child walking together, and the child knowing their an identity as part of that family. Um,
Yeah,
and they'll create more, they'll grow in that, but that's really their identity. And that's not wrong. that's,
indeed.
and it's not a controlling thing of a parent. It's being an atmosphere for them to learn and grow and become as you guide them and watch them and teach them and model all of these things that they need to be for them. Um, what I love about, like, say, with your kids, is like they're going to pass on to their kids even greater how to teach in the home because they've seen you, they've experienced you. And that's what I'm so excited about the homeschool movement is I think it's creating a generational, in a sense, restart of what parenting is to be in terms of, this teaching and raising kids in that way.
Yes, I like that. I like that. It's definitely a game changer. Because the conversations are so different with the homeschool kids and kids that are in traditional school settings. But I always talk about like how we like, main goal of society is to shape basically like working class citizens. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
always like, okay, success is equal to how much you make and the job you work and things of that nature. I always say, but what if we ask people, are they happy? Like, can we start with,
Yeah.
are they happy? Like, are you happy? And then work our way from there as opposed to how much money you make or what are you doing now or da da da. Because it's like, should our goal be to just have successful individuals, working class citizens, or should it be to have healthy, fulfilled, happy individuals?
Yeah. I think I think that is because happiness relates to um, uh, kind of the alignment of what you are, what you're doing with your interests, with your passions, and so and that doesn't necessarily translate into making a lot of money or not. It could be being a wonderful father or mother. It could be being a teacher. It could be, being a scientist, whatever. But there's a passion and interest, and that's, kind of where you get to gifts, talents, and so forth that are inherent in each child that are different, that are strengths, and allowing them to pursue areas of interest and things like that. Because with that, then they're not trying to conform to something, but they're allowed to take everything they learn and apply it to an area of interest. So they are learning and they're applying what they learn, but they're doing it in a way that uh, has an expression in things that, yeah, they're really interested in. And those interests, as kids grow, become things that want to benefit other people. Um, and so not just selfish interests, but really kids, as they would grow up in that way, they want to do things that help others and create a better society and world and so forth. So I think that's some of the outcome of what you're talking about of, being, are you happy or are you just pursuing something that you're kind of been trained to do? And I think it was your last podcast guest said something about, and I've read it too many times, that a lot of education was started in order to create workers,
Yes.
not necessarily to create great thinkers.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so that's what, again, homeschool and really engaging with your kids is to create great thinkers. Because, like you're talking about, your daughter likes to ask a lot of questions.
So inquisitive. So
And
inquisitive.
inquisitiveness is one of the foundations of learning.
Yes.
And in just studies I did, just read about even college age kids or professors who say, the kids in my class don't know how to ask questions. They don't know how to ask good questions. They're either afraid to, or they just don't know, or they just shut down over time because their questions weren't valued, or they were told, "Hey, stop asking so many questions," or
Right.
things like that. And anyway, that inquisitiveness is something that again, it's how we're born. I mean,
Indeed.
little babies are so inquisitive, as
Yeah,
you
their little
know.
eyes, they're just everywhere. They're looking and they're staring intently. It's like I always want to know what a baby. My girls used to still like they talk about me because I'm always talking for babies. I'm like, oh, she's probably saying or he's probably saying. And it's like that baby didn't say that. I'm just saying, like I'm just looking at his eyes and it's just like wondering what are you thinking about, little baby? Hey,
Yeah.
feed me, pick me up. What is that? Like, like so many things, but that we are born into a world of wonder. Like, it's like
Yeah.
you're just wondering about things until you're told about it.
Yeah. Well, and what does it mean when I drop my food on the floor? And it's not
Oh, why can't
bad.
I eat it? Yeah, why can't I eat it anymore? Like, what do you mean I can't eat it anymore?
But they're
Like,
all they're all kind of learning opportunities of this
yes,
inquisitive little person. And yeah, and it's like we should never lose that inquisitiveness.
yes,
Again, just even it was like old later in life that in the context of these things, it's like, oh, I wanted to learn this, this, and this. I never liked to read, but I've read so many books in the last 15 years because there was a passion and an interest that made me want to learn and then find the application of all of these things. And that should never stop with kids.
indeed,
And
indeed.
so, anyway, so again, those are just kind of things you're just aware of. It's like we never do stop learning and we never should stop being inquisitive. And so, where does that disconnect happen and why?
Yeah,
And really, this thing of parental engagement, love, leading through love with your kids' education. Um, it's not saying it's always going to be perfect, but
of
at
course
least
not.
being in that space um, and engaging with your kids and appreciating and enjoying and being, excited about learning, also excited about the things they're learning, wanting to hear about it, um, all of that helps again, just not quench that inquisitive desire to explore. And
Yeah,
anyway, I think uh, every child should, it's a tragedy when that's lost, whether it's
indeed.
in grade school or junior high or high school, whenever that might happen and for whatever reasons.
I'll tell you, my 10th and 12th graders, like they were so checked out. Like they were so like, cause I taught in seventh grade, I taught middle school, and then I finished off in high school. But like to see my 12th graders, definitely like just like it's like, oh, you don't plan on ever opening another book again, do you? Cause it's like they're over it. Cause it's like, it's such a I always talk about my experience with learning Spanish. I was made, like during high school, or I think I started my first foreign language eighth grade. I did German just because it was like, I want to do some German, and my
Hmm.
friends weren't there, so we did German together. But then it was like, okay, well, you have to do 3 years of this. If you're going to college, you have to, create, complete 3 years of Spanish or a foreign language so that you don't have to take it in college. Well, it's like, okay, but you're making me do this. This isn't like a volunteer thing. This isn't me showing interest in this language and saying, oh, okay, I want to learn this. And so your approach to it is so different. Like same thing with like the books that you're asked to read in the English class. It's like, oh, but I don't get to choose what book we read. It's like, I don't have no say. So it's like, no, this is the book we're reading. We're gonna spend about 6 weeks on this book, so get used to it and da, da, da. And it's like,
Yeah.
so that love for anything is never never captured because it's like I don't even love this stuff. I don't
Yeah.
want to know about this. I want to know about this. Or, like let's talk about this. And we don't, because of class sizes, of course, we can't dive into an individual approach to a child's learning. But that love for learning, I feel, is slowly drained out of you by the time you get through the whole K through 12 system, because it's just like being mandated to do things that you are not interested in. And this is talking
Yeah.
like from a reader. I love reading. Love reading. However, some of the literature that was required for us to read, especially college level, it's just like, oh my gosh. Like
Fall asleep.
what? Oh, but it's that love is a thing that we really, as homeschoolers, I know for a fact, we try to hold on to that. We want our kids to want to continue learning after we are done with them, after we're done
Yeah.
guiding them. We want them to continue to open up books. Think about how many kids or how many young adults have graduated from high school and never opened up a book again. Like they never
Yeah.
never read another book. It's like, oh no, I'm done with that. Reading? Who reading? What? Like, think about that. That's so like that's sad. That's sad
It
to
is.
me.
Yeah. That's really sad. Yeah. And like you say, there's so many reasons for that, but part of it is like you're saying that they're they're going through the same class, the same pace, the same materials, and everyone's different. And then so a lot of them are like, I can't keep up with that, or it's too boring, or I'm not interested.
Yes.
And yeah, and over time, yeah, that kind of like spark for learning isn't there when they think of education.
No, it's kind of it gets kind of dreadful, and that's from my own personal. I tell people I used to I slept through high school. For as much as I love to read, when I finished my work, my teacher still frowned upon me reading books in their class. Like that wasn't, a part of an assignment. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna just go to sleep. So that was my rebellion side. Like, okay, well, you're not gonna let me do what I want to do, which is essentially read. And like, well, I thought that was why we're here. Like, I thought you would want me to
Yeah.
learn. Like, something like, okay, don't worry about it. I'm gonna go to sleep. So I checked out early on, and my ninth through 12th grade year were like kind of like just let me get through this. Let me finish because I mean my parents aren't gonna let me drop out. So like I gotta finish. Um, but like I said, during my time in the classroom, my 10th graders were already like, and then my 12th grade is like, I'm girl, just give me my assignment. Like, just like, they don't even want to talk anymore. It's like, just give me my assignment so I can finish this and you can leave me alone and my mama can stay off my back and, things. And it's like, no, I want you to love this. Like, oh, like, I want you to want to do this stuff, like, want to learn about, want to talk. And so I always tried to make sure we had projects that were like relevant to their life, like relevant
Yeah.
to what they were going to go into or relevant just in general. I used to create vision boards with my students at the beginning of the year because I said I have to see what your goals are, where you're trying to go, so I can figure
Yeah.
out how to get you there. And that was always a big thing because it's like being interested, and then you find out how many don't know what they want to do or don't know what they like, or like it's like, oh my gosh, because it's not being asked of them. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a lot. It's a
It
lot.
is. Well, again, that's the uh I think the beauty of homeschool is there's the opportunity to have a different atmosphere because and you're aware there's a lot of education research that um, says, hey, you know what, we should do individualized learning not just for special needs kids, but
Yes.
is there a way we can do this in the regular classrooms? And realizing that every child learns at a different pace and has different interests, different strengths, and so forth. Um, And so, yeah, that is so huge to where each child is a unique person. And so, like you're saying, a vision
Yes.
board. What are you interested in? So let's gear the studies to where you can do something with what you're interested in, apply it in some way. And that has meaning for then, for the child. So anyway, I think this individualized learning is so huge because we're made that way.
Yeah.
And somehow, the old, one room, schoolhouses and, and different things up to where we got the industrialized model for school really kind of catered to individualized learning more. Everyone might study the same thing, but an older one might help a younger one, and people would, the kids would progress at a pace that was theirs. But this other model, it just keeps them moving from one to the next, and doesn't allow for that. And so again, yeah, kids get bored and kind of drop out of it. But again, that's the beauty of homeschool is there's the ability to and the opportunity to really tailor the education to who that child is and and to be able to see and gradually perceive who this child is becoming and their dreams of what they want to do and be, and then walk alongside them with opportunities in those areas in their education. And I just, I want to just encourage with you all of the parents who listen and hear that they can do this, and that it's a journey.
It is. It is a journey. It definitely is. I think I think the best way to think about how individual we are is to think about our fingerprints. All the way,
Yeah,
down to like no fingerprints being the same. It's like in a world where we were created so uniquely that none of us match in any kind of shape. Like, we may have similar features, similar characteristics, but overall we are so individual, like so much of an individual, like that our fingerprints can't be duplicated. I think that is like a sense in itself. Like, no, we are meant to be ourselves. Like, we're
yeah,
not meant to be on the path of everybody fits this one mold. Like everybody needs to be this standard. Everybody needs to do this. It's like, no, no, you're meant to walk your journey. And it's like, okay, how best can we get you in your light and
yeah,
doing what feels good for you.
yeah. That's awesome. That's really true.
Yes. But I appreciate you, Christopher. Tell us the book titles again.
Oh, one is called The Parent Teacher Love and Leading in Learning.
Okay.
And the other is called Every Child Has a Story, Engaging in Your Child's Learning and Development.
Nice. Okay. Love,
And
love.
if people typed Christopher J. Reeves in their browser, then my thing would come up along with Superman. So
Yes, look at you on that level. That's lovely. I appreciate you providing this like you said, it's full of principles and just like an encouragement of building relationship and understanding that parents serve way more of a purpose than just providing food, clothing, shelter. Like you are way, way, way doper than that. So understand that
yeah.
those little people need way more from you. Yes, definitely. Well, before I let you go, two things. One, with all that you do and provide and like you know, pour out as far as into your community, how do you self-care?
Um, well, I self care basically two ways. One, the relationship with my wife uh, and with my family. That's definitely one. The other is I spend time every morning reading, meditating, whether it's the Bible or other books, or I'm always whenever I'm reading into something, I'll start writing about it because that's how I process. And then I come away kind of enriched rather than what did I do? So anyway, that's part of my self care is kind of that time alone to really kind of like dig into things, and then with family. So that's it.
Yes, I always want to remind our listeners that self-care is not it's not optional, it's a priority. Like you have to
Yeah.
take care of you and all that you do. And three things that you will want our listeners, if they didn't hear anything else during this whole conversation, three things you want to leave them with.
Three things is that parental engagement is something that they can do, and they can take a step into it and practice it, and they will grow in their ability in it as they practice it. And so they should go into it with the confidence that this is something that will become their skill that they can pass on to their own kids.
Yes, yes. That's one.
Oh, that was actually three.
Oh, that was all three?
Ah, well then, yeah, a couple more, huh? I think that was it. I just want, parents to be aware that they can do this, that
Yes.
it's going to be unique to their family, and
Okay.
that three, that they're going to grow in their skill and ability.
Oh, I had grouped
And
it all together. It is, you
yeah.
definitely hit three. Yes. Okay, nice. Yes, a little straightforward. You were ready for that. I know you were. But thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all that you have created. Thank you for providing support. And this lovely tricky role of parenthood because like I said, there's no guides, there's no
Yeah.
manuals that are given. So it's always nice to be able to, read a good book that will like just give you a little bit more to think on and a little bit different of a course to take as opposed to what you grew up with. So
Yeah. And I
thank you.
appreciate what you're doing, your resources, your mission, the meetings that you do throughout the country. And we'll see you in Valencia, by the way, in a week or
Yes,
two.
yes, yes, yes. Very
And
excited.
yeah, so I'm excited to be here with you, and we're on this in this together to get as many parents as possible really engaging their kids through their love and their leading, and see what can happen for this next generations.
Yes, yes, parents. Continue to talk to your kids. Continue to understand that they do value you way more than you may know. As I always speak on my little people, and they adore me. I'm not gonna hold you. Like they really do. They look up to me for so many reasons. And I think it's because we definitely have a unique journey that we're on, and they are very, very much involved in all that we're doing. So. I could just imagine, what that looks like for them, and then having to hear, "Oh, y'all are so like this is so beautiful that y'all are able to do this and things of that nature." So I understand, my role that I play with them, and so just know that they value you. They value you way more than you may know, and they value your words and your opinions, your guide, your nurturing. So keep doing that, and don't ever
Keep
pass
doing it.
that. Don't ever pass that baton off. Like if anything, hold it with somebody, like partner up,
Yeah,
but definitely keep leading it. So, homeschool your
wonderful.
kids.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.